For more than a year now, the headlines about Manipur, India have been painting a really grim picture of ethnic violence. But, what if that's only scratching the surface? Today, we're going to go deeper. We're following the trail of India's top federal investigators to uncover a war that's far more complex and far more organized than it first appeared. First, let's just ground ourselves in the devastating human reality here. Since May of 2023, this violence has claimed more than 260 lives. And it's not just the lives lost. We're talking about entire communities being completely uprooted. Over 60,000 people have been forced to flee their homes. That is just a staggering scale of displacement. So the scale of this tragedy is crystal clear, but it begs the question, is this just an ethnic clash? Well, India's National Investigation Agency, the NIA, is saying no, not at all. Their investigation is actually uncovering a story of organized insurgency, transnational conspiracy, and even narco-terrorism. As you can imagine, as the crisis spiraled way beyond the control of local law enforcement, the central government had to step in, and that triggered a full-scale federal investigation. So who are these guys? Well, the NIA is India's absolute top counterterror agency. Think of them as the unit that gets called in for the most serious threats to national security. The fact that they're involved at all tells you the government sees this as way more than just a local law and order problem. And to really underscore just how serious this is, a special NIA court was set up right there in Manipur. Now, this isn't just some procedural move. This is a big deal. It's designed to fast-track these incredibly complex terror-related cases, all in an effort to deliver some kind of swift justice on the ground. Okay, so one of the first and frankly most shocking things investigators found was the source of all the firepower. The violence wasn't just being armed. In a way, it was being armed by the state itself. In the early, chaotic days of the violence, something like 5,600 firearms, along with over 500,000 rounds of ammo, were just looted, straight from police armories. These weren't smuggled weapons. This was state property. And get this, to date, authorities have only recovered a little over 1,700 of those weapons. That means thousands of high-powered, military-grade firearms are still out there, unaccounted for, just fueling this conflict. And look, this isn't just speculation. The NIA's own charging sheet provides the direct link. As you can see right here in this quote, investigators confirmed that weapons they seized from people they arrested were traced directly back to those looted police armories. This is the hard evidence. But the looted weapons? That's just one piece of the puzzle. The NIA's probe started to uncover evidence that this wasn't just random mob violence at all. No, this was an organized effort involving established insurgent groups. The investigation identified the involvement of a banned insurgent group called the People's Liberation Army, or PLA. And according to the NIA, the PLA wasn't just participating, they were organizing. They were setting up weapons training camps for local youth. All of this was allegedly part of a much wider conspiracy with groups in neighboring Myanmar, with the ultimate goal of waging war against the Indian state. So how is all of this being funded? This is where the investigation takes a really dark turn. We're about to open a case file that connects the violence directly to the international drug trade. The key to this whole next layer is right here in this document, NIA case file, RC-2-2026. Now, it didn't start as a terror investigation. It actually began as a pretty routine narcotics bust. But what the agents found during that raid would end up forging the critical link to all the violence. So, during that raid, agents seized 1.5 kilograms of methamphetamine. But as you can see from the evidence list, they found something else right alongside the drugs, a pistol and live ammunition. This single seizure became the thread connecting two very different worlds, the international drug trade and the local armed conflict. And right here, this is the smoking gun. It's a direct quote from the NIA's official report on the case. It states, crystal clear, that funds from drug smuggling are being used to finance terrorist and insurgent organizations in the region. This, my friends, is the literal definition of narco-terrorism. So let's just recap for a second. We've got looted police weapons, an organized insurgency, and a narco-terror funding trail. When you put all of that together, it's pretty clear the NIA is facing an incredibly complex security challenge. And this table gives you a snapshot of the sheer scope of their work. I mean, they're not just investigating a few incidents. Just take a look. They're handling everything from direct attacks on security forces and ambushes on officials, all the way to the looting of armories and this wider transnational conspiracy. Each line item you see here represents a major, complicated investigation. So, the NIA's investigation paints a stark picture, one that goes so far beyond simple ethnic strife. It's a multi-layered conflict fueled by insurgency and drug money. But it also leaves us with a really critical question. While investigators can unravel a conspiracy, can a security-first approach ever be enough to truly heal a society that's been so deeply fractured by violence?